I'm about that. I'm about that come up, running up on them fools that are talking foolish. Try to get them funds up, killing the mics just like I ran into Jules. And y'all gonna get done up front, knowing that kid with an attitude. But you can't really blame this motherfucker for what he had to do. I'm about that cash flipping, I'm getting it on and off the market. Not about that VIP, not me, not never been a fan of carpets. All about that RIP for all of my Jesus gone departed. All about that finish when I started, I'm about that.
Top down the night, you're not ready. We ride, we're about that. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night. Top down the night, you're not ready. We ride, we're about that. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night.
Know that I'm about it. Want a man I can bring the drama, but it ain't by chance. I'm fucking rapping, you don't really want a problem. Made a little cash in the back end, but still rapping, calling me starving. Yeah, y'all ain't gonna ask who the man is. Hope I'm gonna be like, beg your pardon. I'm about that.
Top down the night, you're not ready. We ride, we're about that. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night. Top down the night, you're not ready. We ride, we're about that. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night.
And what's up, everybody? It is a July 9th edition of the YSN Power Hour, powered proudly by our sponsors that are represented during the breaks and at the bottom of our screen usually. Unfortunately, they're covered up right now. We're trying to figure that out, a better way to do that. But right now on the show, you have Mike McKenzie, you have Richie Giuliano, and you have the YSN version of Carmen Sandiego, Quinn Pushkar, who is in Indianapolis right now and looking very mean. That could be because he's about 30 feet from a homeless guy that he's really concerned about. Quinn, what's going on in Indy?
Yeah, there's a homeless guy down that way, and it's interesting. But Indy's nice. It's nice. It's hotter than heck here, and yeah.
It's hotter than
Not
heck
baiting
everywhere. It's hotter than heck everywhere. Outside, I think it's like, 92 or something like that. So make sure that, I feel like I'm talking to a puppy, but make sure you stay hydrated out there, little puppy Quinn. You do most of your work inside in Indianapolis right now. So, I mean, how's that going? And we're going to get an update later, but how's AAU going overall?
It's not bad. We're playing well. Girls are having fun, so I'm happy with it. Tournament stuff is running well, so basically a dream come true.
And where's the trivia captain of the world? Is he still snoozing?
Yeah, he's asleep, and I think I could hear him snoring from here. But
the odd couple rooming together. Guys, Michael, this is one of the main topics that you wanted to talk about today. The Ivy League yesterday came out. Cancellation. You won't see any Ivy League sports until 2021 at the very earliest. Is this something that we're going to see another domino where the Ivy League, Michael, like you said, this started with them back in March? Are we going to see the Ivy League start this round of dominoes again, starting yesterday and moving in? And if so, who do you think is next?
I think that if you look at big conferences like these Power 5 conferences, I think that next you might be looking at the Big Ten. Because with Ohio State, their athletic director, Gene Smith, on May 20th said that a decision on fall sports should and more than likely will be coming in early July. We'll look at where we are. Early July, last night, they had halted their voluntary workouts due to COVID-19, a huge spike in Ohio, and the results coming back. Nearly about 10 guys in total tested positive. And it's, again, the reaction from the public is that this is an overreaction from the Ivy League. Same thing that happened back in March. I think that we're looking at what could be a similar situation. And the SEC commissioner said it best. There's hope that seems like every minute it is dying.
Wow.
It just keeps going away. I think that we could be approaching the spring football season, if any football at all. I think that the hope is slowly, unfortunately, dying away.
Yeah, and if that's the case, Richie, when you look at this, if the power conferences like the Big Ten are next, does it filter down, does it domino from there down to the high school levels and the amateur levels?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you see the Power 5 conferences fall their season away, then I think definitely the high school season will follow next, and then below that, the Pee Wee leagues and whatever is below then, I think will be canceled.
It's going to be interesting. Quinn, you're a coach. I mean, you coach for Lisbon boys basketball, and you obviously coach AAU. Can schools survive with no football, no athletics, and possibly going to an all-digital format?
I don't know. I think that'll be tough. I mean, some schools do it without football. I think like Bristol, they do it without football. They survive, but then again, they're a basketball school, and everybody knows that. I mean, it'll be tough on some of those smaller schools like Lisbon to kind of generate an interest, I guess, in everything. But I think it's possible. It's gonna be trial and error, though.
If we see these schools start folding, and we don't want to see that, if we see them start having to shut their doors and lock it up, are we going to see the rise in privatized education? I mean, is that an option at this point? You look at Heartland; they don't have a football team, but they're able to utilize donations and all the kind, in-kind donations that they have. Is that something we're going to see on a much bigger scale because cities won't be able to fund, their own schools anymore?
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, you look at all the public schools around Youngstown, there's just a select few of private schools. So we're not in the Cleveland area where it's a lot of private schools on like every boulevard. So it would be a very, very tough decision for each family around choosing a private school and a public school, because let's just be real here. Not every family could afford attending a private school. And that's just the fact of the matter.
I don't know how you kept a straight face through all that, because you got Steve Leslie saying Quinn looks mean for sure, and Robert Switka saying hydrated on Mountain Dew, and there's no doubt about that. I mean, you're right, Richie. I don't think there's a way that you can fund that equally across. I mean, how many schools would there be? I mean, who would step in and fund that many schools?
Exactly.
Would we be able to keep the doors open at all the schools in Columbiana County? I'm not sure, because there's a lot of money that goes into that we don't know about. That we never even think about and haven't fathomed. So it's going to be interesting, because football is the big revenue generator. We've talked about it all week. If there's no football, what are they going to do? We talked about bringing in boys volleyball, as an opportunity to make some revenue, and just have boys and girls volleyball at least try to make up some of the revenue they're losing. And I've gotten some scowls from coaches and from athletic directors saying it's a little bit too late for that. But is it? Is it too late if there's just time, right? You have to have something to do in the fall. And volleyball, tennis, and golf have already been cleared as non-contact sports. So if you're an athletic director, don't you start looking at every option at this point? And every option should include creating another opportunity for the boys if football is taken away, correct?
You would think so, yeah. I mean, at that point, you got to find some way to generate revenue on the athletic scale. And I think you have to venture out to every option that you have, from, like you just said, tennis to golf to whatever the state deems as a non-contact sport. So if the state says volleyball is a non-contact sport, then, yeah, maybe you could try and throw in a men's volleyball team. Maybe people around the community would love to see that, because it's not very popular around Youngstown.
Is this an opportunity for schools to look further into non-contact sports and then blow it out in the fall? They've talked about flipping baseball, softball, and track and field to the fall and moving everything else to the spring. Daniel Leslie brings up a great point. But here's the thing. Wouldn't you explore more non-contact sports to utilize in the fall? That way you have everybody involved and they can take their pick at what they want to do. And here's the other thing. If schools are closed, what do you do then?
Well, I think you really don't know, because isn't it like a rule that you can't practice if the schools are closed? So how are you allowed to play if everything's online?
Michael's the one that's closest to it right now. I mean, Mike, would you be okay with going 5 days of digital schooling if you had to?
I mean, we did it for a couple of months, and I'm going to be honest, it was not the best in terms of how much we learned. When you compare the in-person classes to the online classes, you would absolutely think that. But I think that it comes down to what do you need to do as opposed to what's best for the students at this point. If it's the safer option to go 5 days of digital school, then we're going to have to go 5 days of digital school. You already saw the big cities like Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati say that's what they're doing for the fall semester. So do these schools in Columbiana County follow? Do these schools in the Youngstown area follow? I think that there's a strong possibility that they do, because the general feel a couple weeks ago was we're going back 5 days a week in-person classes. Now nobody knows what the hell is going to go on. So I think that if you had to put money down on what's going to happen, I think the 5 days digital school is what's going to happen. I hope that with what's going on and all the decisions being made, that what happens is a number of kids go Monday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, and a number of kids go Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Thursday, to kind of split it up and get more in-person classes for the kids. But I think that we're looking at a more than likely scenario of all online.
I love that he says, for the kids, and he's among them. That is your brethren and sister and my friend. Mike, you're representing them, so that's why we're going to you. I mean, is there a happy medium that you'd be okay with? Like, would you be okay with two or 2 and 3, digital or actually in attendance? What would float your boat in that situation, Michael?
2 and 2 or 2 and 3 of school days, absolutely, because everybody was waking up at 2 p.m. and doing their work. Nobody is ready to wake back up at 6:30 a.m., hop on a bus, and go to school for first period that starts at 7:30, 5 days a week, starting in August. I think the happy medium is that 2 and 2, 2 and 3 for the kids, and then you ease back into the 5 days a week after the fall winter semester. When you exit December, coming back from December break, that's when you maybe go back to 5 days a week. But what's best for, I want to say this again, the kids, 2 and 2, what's probably going to be safer for the community in terms of Columbiana County and not just people in the school, is probably 5 days digital. But the happy medium is 100% the 2 and 2, 2 and 3.
Everything that you just said, the biggest thing I got from it is you don't want to get on a bus and go into school at 7. He doesn't want to wake up and go to school.
Nobody wants to do it 5 days a week. They want to.
No, of course not. Of course they don't want to do it 5 days a week. We don't want to work 5 days a week. But oh my goodness, the future of America is doomed.
I'll back him up on that, though. My brother's been waking up at like 2 o'clock every afternoon, so I can't even imagine him getting up at 7:30 in the morning and be able to function for his first period class.
I'm telling you right now, the kids want to go back to school, but they don't want to go back 5 days a week.
So what? Like, I get that. I'm asking you what you want to do. What should happen? Like, I guess from an adult standpoint, you guys should go back to school because your parents have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready for their day. You should not be waking up at 10 o'clock, Michael McKenzie, and just rolling out of bed and just stumbling down and get your cereal. I know what you do. I know what you're looking for. You're looking to have your cake and eat it too. I'm looking for a legit answer. We can't all just wake up and be Quinn Pushkar. Like, he's living the dream.
I think what's best for the students in terms of, I think that 2 and 2 is not going to be good from both standpoints of getting a daily routine like you're going to have when you're out of high school, when you're out of college. But also, you've got these 2 days of online school where you're not learning too much. I want to do 2 and 2, but there's a lot of negatives to it as well when you're talking about in terms of when you get out of high school, when you got to have this daily routine, but also when you're trying to learn, even if it is information that you're only using about 2% of it, when you get out of high school, 2 and 2 is probably the best to keep the community safe 5 days online, to better prepare students for the future 5 days in person, face to face.
But what time do you want to wake up? That's the question. That's the ultimate
I'll
question.
wake up whatever time they tell me to wake up.
That a boy, Michael. All right, he's back on board. The educator. You got to be a leader in that community, Mike. You got to get in there. Tell everybody.
I want to wake up late, but you tell me if I want to wake up at 10:30 a.m. for sure. But if you tell me I got to wake up at 6:30, I'm waking up at 6:30.
That a boy. See, he's a soldier. He's ready to go. Either way, depending on if it's digital or, I mean, Youngstown City School District, I believe, has gone completely digital this year. So, I mean, they've completely cut all the in-person classes. So it's going to be interesting because there is now something to point to and say, hey, here it is. You know, here's a legit, you know, this is what's going on. You have someone to kind of look at as an example. It'll be interesting because I expected the domino to be Youngstown City School District and everybody to fall off of that. Now, getting back to the point at hand, being that the Ivy League has canceled all sports for 2020, we won't see any of that till 2021. I'm interested to see where the next domino will fall, and I'm hearing there's a local press conference tonight in one of our local colleges and universities here around our area that there's not a whole lot of information to be had. So we're not going to push it out there in case this is completely off topic, but you have to believe that there's some information that's happening at a local university, local college, to call a press conference and call a meeting like that, and not a whole lot of info is coming out. So we'll be interested. We'll keep you tuned here on YSN from every standpoint when it comes to that stuff. The next part of that, and it was kind of alluded to already, guys, a lot of these conferences now are looking at doing conference play only. They're not worried about the non-conference games. They're not worried about, the extras, so to speak, the icing on the cake. They want to get down to the nitty-gritty, and they want to play their conference teams only, given the situation. Is this a pro or is this a no in your book? Q, we'll start with you with your 5-second delay.
Yeah, my 5-second delay because I'm running away from the guy that got closer to me.
I told you he was going to closer.
I don't think. Yeah, he did. It got in there pretty quick.
Did he touch you inappropriately?
But no, I got out of there quicker than that. But no, I think conference play wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, it's still sports, I guess, and I'm at the point where I just want sports. So,
are you willing to give up essentially 2 or 3 weeks of sports to just have only conference play and to put all your eggs in that basket?
I mean, yeah, if it's like NFL, I mean, I'm a Browns fan, you know that. And 3 less weeks of Browns football isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Interesting. And I don't think the NFL could do just, I guess conference play they could. Division play, they'd be screwed. Because if you look at it, you go,
yeah.
If you're only playing the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Bengals all year, how boring would that be?
That'd be horrible. You'd be playing the same team like 3 times a year.
Yeah, it'd be terrible.
It'd be horrible.
So, I think conference they could.
I don't know. Let's go.
What the hell just happened? I thought he was mouthing off to the homeless guy.
Yeah.
No, I got away from him. I made a turn.
Anyway, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, but one scenario I could see if they're limiting games in the NFL, something similar to what the MLB did. Play only games in your division and then go to the other conference's division, like the NFC North, and play a couple games against the Packers or the Lions or the Vikings or the Bears. Add those opponents into the schedule. Still play everybody in division twice, and then maybe play a couple teams in the NFC North twice, play a couple teams just one time. Let's say you got the Lions and Bears twice and the Packers and Vikings once. 2 games in division, shorten the schedule up a little bit. Do something similar to what the MLB did if you're going to shorten the NFL schedule. That's the best thing I can see.
I can get behind that, but the Cowboys are in Dallas, Texas, and they're in the NFC East. Like, that means that Philadelphia's got to go to Texas. You know, like what? Or I'm sorry, New York's got to go to Texas. So what?
They both got to go to Texas.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They both do. But what do you like? How do you? That doesn't make any sense. Like they would have to recalculate the divisions based on geographical location, and it would have to be within proximity of X amount of miles. You would imagine, right? So it would be really interesting. Switka with the "Can you at least show Indy instead of your luscious beard?"
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me because baseball is a little bit better than football in this, because at least the Rangers are what in the West, So at least that's
Rangers are in the West. They're playing in Arlington. They still got to travel to LA, but it's not as bad as traveling from Washington D.C. to Dallas.
no, that's awful.
No.
So I mean, that's where the NFL has big problems if they're going to try to replicate what Major League Baseball did. Don't you think? I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that if you got Dallas in the East.
I mean, that's the one thing that they're going to have to look at. Do they switch Dallas into the West or the South? I don't know if they would move Dallas or not. That might be the one roadblock they hit if they try to do that. Maybe look at maybe look at every team on the map and decide which the two divisions closest to each other are they going to play each other. Like, let's say the NFC North goes up against the NFC East for the shortened schedule.
But that doesn't make. I mean, you're already. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
There'd have to be something going on where you're only playing two divisions, like the MLB did.
Let's break it down from the NFL to conference play here locally. I mean, would you guys be okay with knocking 3 weeks off the football schedule or knocking a few games off of any other schedule to just play people in conference? And let me add on to that question and say, at that point, why does it matter? Like, we're all local. As long as you're not playing somebody from Canada, from Pennsylvania, I mean, essentially it's local, or are we going to cut it down into you can only play people in your own county?
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. I mean, if you're playing locally, it doesn't really matter. But another thing that I wanted to mention is I do not think it's a good thing because of strength of schedule. And I look at this at the college ranks, and I'm going to compare this to the Ohio State Buckeyes, how everybody makes fun of them that, they play in a weaker schedule during their conference play. Well, this is the chance for them to go out and play good teams, right? They have Oregon on their schedule this year. They have TCU in the past, a couple of teams that are good and in the top 10. So this hurts them if they're playing only their conference because you could deem their Big Ten conference as a little bit weaker. And I think that's where this hurts a lot of other schools because they go out and they look for good teams to play that aren't in their conference.
Well, and it's going to be interesting because if you have a conference, Richie, that consists of 2 counties or multiple counties, what do you do then?
Well, I mean, at that point, I don't know. I mean, I guess you just have to play your conference. It depends what they would want you to limit between county to county. I don't know. It depends. I don't know.
Well, let's put an example out there. Jefferson is in Trumbull County, as is Hubbard and Girard, I believe. So you look at those 3, and people in those counties have to wear masks right now. But if you come to Mahoning County, you don't have to.
Yeah.
So how do you invite people from Trumbull County at this point into your stadium and have them abide by the same rules and regulations that you're using, and you don't have to wear masks?
Well, if you're going to go county to county, I think you could just play people that aren't in your conference but in your county. Like, for example, Pullman would play Canfield for a game, in which they don't do anymore. Even though they're not in the same conference, you could just play people that are in your conference but different divisions and other things like that. It just depends on how they want schools to do this. If they want to stay in their own county, if they could say you could play your conference even if it's in 2 different counties. It kind of just depends on what the state mandates at this point.
Yeah, it would be very interesting because that would get real tricky around these parts in Columbiana County because you got some schools that won't play other schools. So you look at that and you go, well, if you got nobody else to play and you can only play teams in your county, you might have to bite the bullet and play those kids from just down the road. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm not sure that I'm all in locally on just conference play only because typically you're playing teams that are close together. They're close in proximity. Naturally, there are different scenarios where you're playing a team from 50, 100 miles away, and sometimes even from different countries. If you're Cardinal Mooney and you play a team from Canada, that's going to get a little bit tricky. But I'm okay with conference play only because I mean, you're looking at, 7 weeks, 8 weeks of football, and that's still better than none. So we invite Tristan Reynolds into the show, or is that Conor McGregor down there on the couch chilling? T, what's going on, man? What's your take on conference play only at every single level? Would you be cool with that, or do you think it's a wash?
If you're going to be able to play games, I think conference play, just because that's where your hard games are, in my opinion. I mean, everyone wants to play your rival. Everyone wants to play the team down the road. So I'm all for conference play. If we can have a season, conference play it is.
And all you care about is getting the games on the field, right?
Absolutely.
Breaking news from a source on ESPN.com. Big Ten will be conference only this fall. So we got breaking news
I was
right
just about
here
to
on
say
the Power
something.
Hour. Yeah, so you look at it, and I'm sure the biggest Ohio State fan we know is right in the middle of that box.
What does that do to college football playoffs?
For Ohio State, people get a knock on them for playing the Big Ten, but the Big Ten consistently has a top 10 team, multiple top 15 teams. You got Wisconsin that was in the top 10 for the majority of last year until they lost to Illinois. They're still a top 15 team, and then Ohio State blows them out of the water. You talk about Penn State, they're going to be a top 10 team when Ohio State faces them in the whiteout environment. That's not going to be an easy game to play if they still have fans. Ohio State, I don't think they're screwed by this at all. Clemson, no, they're not going to change anything, but when you look at conferences like the Big 12 that are kind of relying on those non-conference games to boost their resumes, it doesn't bode well for them.
Why do you had a crush on me, Swiska?
The fact that he called them ladybug glasses. That is on point. That is right on the nose there, Robert Swicka. We appreciate the comments. Obviously, we appreciate everybody kind of chiming in here on the Power Hour. They're the sponsors down at the bottom of the screen, so you can check all those out. We appreciate all the support from Baird Brothers, from WRS Insurance Solutions, as well as Joe Dickey Electric, WFMJ, and G. Burbank Farms, a few other that we'll mention a little bit later in the show as they'll show up. Guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we still have a ton to talk about. We've got to talk about AAU updates with Coach Pushkar. We also get to talk about
I got some news for Cute Daddy, too. I got some news for him, too.
All right. Well, hold on to it. Hold on. We don't want to break any news here until after the break. When is the time/age that sports gets serious? I know we've had this discussion before, but now that sports is back in the news, naturally with COVID, when do things and when should things get serious? We want to have an honest conversation about that. We're going to talk about officials. We're going to talk about how their reactions influence people, both coaches and players, on the field and off the field, and how you're supposed to carry yourself amidst the COVID-19 situation. So we'll talk that. We're also going to talk the NFL. No jersey swapping this fall, so that's going to get interesting. And then we'll also have what we do typically every day is our G. Burbank Farms What's Your Beef? All that and more coming up on the YSN Power Hour, powered by Joe Dickey Electric.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
And welcome back to the YSN Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you, Mike McKenzie on my side, and then we got Tristan Reynolds and Richie Giuliano, and I think the homeless guy finally caught up with Quinn. He stopped moving, and he was spotted by. Oh, there he comes. He's back. I think he's trying to get on the Lucas Oil Stadium Wi-Fi. He's certainly he's on a delay. So there he is. Quinn, are you alive? Are you okay, Quinn?
The homeless man got him.
Weird.
Oh, he's frozen. Are you all right?
The homeless man got to him.
I think he got him.
Did they get you?
Yeah, he's
Oh,
gone.
I'm doing something.
Leave it to our assistant general manager.
Luscious beard.
Our general managers combined with Steve and Quinn are probably the most technologically advanced people I've ever met in my life. So we'll just leave it there. I'm gonna mute you because it sounds like you're eating popcorn. So we're gonna mute Quinn for a little bit. When you think about this, guys, well, I guess we can't do this next segment, AAU update with Quinn Pushkar. Hey, Quinn, give us a thumbs up if everything's good.
I got something for Q, and it's actually YSN worthy, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
So there's news on the street that, running point Ron Potesta will be the JV coach at Latonia. And we know that Quinn is the JV coach at Lisbon. I had just I'm the JV coach at Crestview.
Oh!
So I think we all play. I think Crestview plays Latonia and Lisbon this year, and I think Q plays Latonia as well. So that's there's going to be something to bet on here. So
I'm excited for this because this has.
I know I played Latonia twice.
This has some potential here.
And listen, if you bet against me, you better be ready to run naked through the streets because I don't do anything easy. Like if we're betting, we're going everything.
I'm hoping you guys get in a fight during the game.
I'll put the mics on him. I mean, we're going to do a level up for sure for that.
I've seen him
we won't
eat his wings. I'm not fighting.
You're not going to fight Ron?
No, he's gonna look at me like a piece of Joe wing, and I'm running the other way.
You would take a punch from Kelly Pavlik, but Ron Potesta, that's the line
Ron
for you.
Potesta.
Yeah, his demeanor is scary.
He's a bear.
It's like
he could be the mascot for the Latonia Bears. Like it is the Po Bear.
You're just gonna see Ron Potesta coming out of the wall with a YSN mic. There we go. New mascot.
Bong. Yeah. I mean, you're done. You're done. He'll beat you down like a drumstick. I want that level up for the two of you, and especially if Ron's in the mix, that would be fantastic. Just to have you guys hear what you talk about during the game. We've had Quinn. No, we haven't had you mic'd up. I've been beat. Oh, there he goes again. See what happens? The homeless guy got him again.
He's hiding. He's hiding in that luscious beard.
Yeah, I mean it is very interesting what's going on, and I guess we've all learned something today that if you're looking to get Wi-Fi in Indianapolis, it's not that easy. So
you're gonna get attacked by the homeless men.
Yeah, you make sure you watch your 6 in Indy. So guys, so we're gonna skip over the AAU update until Captain Indianapolis can get back up here. What is the best time and age to get serious about sports? We've had this discussion before. Usually it rotates around the 12-year-olds, when things get serious and like Little League. When did sports get serious for you, and when do you think sports should get serious for this generation that's kind of down there?
I say 7th, 8th grade.
Why?
Because that's usually when kids start to find their stride, and most student athletes hit puberty around that age, right? They start growing. You find out where you're good at. I say 7th and 8th grade for sure, just because that's where you find out where you're good. You can't wait till high school.
We weren't allowed to play football until 7th and 8th grade, like tackle football. Like we had
and
flag
I am
football.
Fully on board with that. That's a different conversation, but I'm fully on board with that because it teaches bad habits if you play younger. But that's a different story.
Okay. Get behind that. Richie, what are your thoughts on when things should get serious from the little kids?
I think it's 12. I mean, 12 years old, that's the big shot, especially like you mentioned earlier, Little League. I mean, you have the potential to go to Little League World Series and play in front of millions of people worldwide. So if that's not serious, then I really don't know what is. But I also agree with Tristan on this, that around like 7th or 8th grade, because that's when you start to play all together as one school and under a good structured coach that they're paid to do. So I can see both sides. It depends on which sport you're kind of playing.
So let me ask you this. When you watch the Little League World Series, which unfortunately is not happening this year, all they care about and all they talk about is naturally sportsmanship, being a good player, caring about just caring about the game. Mm-hmm. The end result is not always what you want in winning. It's not always about winning. It's about being what you do on the field and the kind of sport you are. Do you still feel like when you look at that a little deeper, Richie, do you still feel 12 years old, it's about winning?
Yeah, because, I mean, they display it that way as, it's all about sportsmanship and having fun. But these kids want to go out there and they want to win. I mean, they're not just laying back and saying, oh, well, after the game. Like, the kids are crying after the game. Like, they're upset that they lose. they don't want to go out there and, lose the even kids that they know that they meet, that they get to play with in the clubhouses and get to go out to eat with and stuff. So I don't know. They display it the right way. They do the right thing. And, their commercials, their advertisements are all about sportsmanship and, being the better person and not letting the game get the best of you. But at the end of the day, these kids want to win and they're upset when they don't.
Michael, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to go with everybody else, somewhere around 7th or 8th grade. Maybe you could say 6th grade because you're starting to get into the junior high level. But I say it becomes full-on 100% serious around 7th grade. 6th grade, they try to teach you, you're getting into competitive sports. Why don't we start getting at least a little bit competitive and start going for winning instead of having fun around then? But yeah, 7th grade is when you start preaching 100%, go out there and win. That's how you're going to have fun, starting at about that 12-year-old, that area. I'm fully on board with everybody else. Preach
Q,
winning in 7th grade.
Q, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say by 7th grade. It's trickling down into that 6th grade group, but I would say probably 7th grade, 100%.
How far does AAU kind of reach down with the claw at what level? Is it 10? Is it 11, 12? What is it?
It basically depends on the tournament. Right now, we have 3rd grade and 4th grade. We have a combo division there, so I would say safely probably 4th grade is
So
the
what is
lowest it'll
that?
go.
That's what, 8? No, that's 10, right?
Well, oddly enough, you get these 6th graders that are,
8, 9, 10.
you get like 6th graders that are like state ranked in AAU that are out here playing in tournaments. Like, it's weird. You get a 6th grader who's like, hey, that's the number 1 kid in the state. I'm like, what? He can't even cook a TV dinner. How is he number 1 in the state? You know what I mean? But it's weird. They really are ranked, and it's super weird to think about.
That kid can't even cook his own kid's cuisine. Like, come on, let's go.
I was at an AAU tournament, and there was a kid there who was in 6th grade, and he was like state ranked, like number 1 in the state. And he
Who
was in
does
6th
that?
grade.
I'm so, like,
that blows my mind, right?
I apologize that I'm just absolutely ignorant on who ranks the number 1 10-year-old in the state in the game of baseball. Like, how do you do that at that age? I think that's a little bit crazy, right? Because you're a year or 2 out of coach pitch at that point. What makes you a great baseball player? Hitting it out of the infield?
Yeah, I mean,
I still can't hit out of the infield, so I don't know.
They base a lot of it on your height and weight at the time and, the amount of power you have and athletic ability. It's not really based on how good you are yet. It's kind of based on your potential. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're tall and you weigh a lot, they kind of base it on your potential that you'll have in a few years.
To me, it's just absolutely ludicrous that they could have a number 1 10-year-old in the state for a game. How do you know? Like, at this point,
you don't.
If you've ever seen them on
potential.
If you've ever seen them on a soccer field, it's just like one big mass of kids moving around. So I would love to see the dude with the notebook that gets to pick the top player out of that pile.
Right? It's like rolling the dice. Like, I'm gonna find that guy and take him to the casino because if he's rolling the dice and he's like coming up 50%. Hey, let's go play roulette, guy. I'm putting 50 on black. Let's go.
I guess an honest question would be to Quinn, and I don't know if you've done recruiting at that level, but how do you recruit a 10-year-old to play a game? Is it mostly just you pick what you I don't know, who signs up and you just take from tryouts? How does that work?
Well, for me personally, like I coach that 5th grade girls team as well, and I basically just watched a bunch of youth basketball when running tournaments and stuff like that. Just kind of watched who was playing well and talked to them and be like, hey, come play travel basketball.
So at that point, it's just literally just a list that you're saying, hey, come play with us. We just want to make you better. We want you to be part of our family. It's not like you're in a gym in a community ball and you're taking notes on kids, drilling J's from 7 feet away.
Yeah, no, it's not like that at all. I mean, there are some, like at that 5th grade level, there are some 5th graders that are more skilled than others, and you kind of gravitate towards them. But at the end of the day, it's just a toss-up.
Quinn, let's take a step back real quick. Let's get an AAU update with Coach Quinn Pushkar. And how are things going in Indianapolis for your team, the Ohio Lakers? And what are you seeing out there in Indy on the AAU scale? Is it a great tournament? Is it something that that the people here should be turning on? Is there a way to get a like? Is it a season pass, or how do you get AAU on streaming if that's even a thing right now?
Yeah, so there is a streaming service. I don't know the details of it. All I know is it's like $50 to get any game, like full season pass or whatever of the tournament. I don't know who does it. I could tell you it's not as quality as what we do at YSN by any means.
That a boy.
But it's something. It's something, but it's bad. In my mind, it's bad. But I've been surrounded by high quality YSN film. So other than that, we're doing well. The girls are playing well. We are sitting at 2-2 right now, but we're going into a new session. So looking to turn that around a little bit. We're coming off 2 good games. We won the last 2 by basically 25 plus. So we're starting to get there. I mean, it was a big scale for a lot of these girls coming to such an event like this. So they're kind of settling down and settling into it, and it's getting exciting for sure. Overall, the talent level here is through the roof. I mean, there's a lot of talented girls here. I'll give you my plug-in for Carlos down at SMAC. He's coached one of the best SMAC teams down here. He's got a girl that's committed to Maryland. And back home, we got Kyla Jamison. She plays on that SMAC team as well, and she's playing really well. They just came off of winning a gold championship here. So I'm excited for Kyla, and they're doing well as well.
Awesome. I love hearing that. Kyla Jamison, the Salem product. We're excited for her to hear that she's doing well. And to hear that you're doing well, Quinn, winning 25 plus a couple games. That says something about the local talent here in the 330. Guys, let's turn the page. A lot of talk about officials in every sport right now, being a little bit tougher on coaches, on players, and everything's a little bit tighter. Last night in the B League, we saw a coach at third base get tossed, miscommunication. Michael, you did that game. There wasn't a whole lot of conversation. It was just a quick trigger. The guy's gone, and after it was a miscommunication between the coach and what the umpire heard. So, with things like that, what's kind of the rule, the standing rule with umpires and officials, and we got some coaches on board here. Is it do you try to work them? Do you try to build a relationship with them so you can get away with some other stuff, or have some real conversations during or after a game to try to move forward? Tristan, we'll start with you just because you're not on delay.
I've been on both. I've coached and I've umpired. I've ref. I've done it all. When you're doing like an umpire situation, you don't like to be questioned. Like, you're there to do a job because someone wants you to do that job. Like, don't question me. And then if you tell someone to say, hey man, that's your last word, and they say another word, hey, guess what? You're gone. Like, I wasn't playing games with you. So as a coach, you do have to find that fine balance. You have to essentially, I hate to do it because you got to kiss up to people, right? And that's what there is a fine line. But as an umpire or a coach, as a ref, you don't want people to question you. Like, you're there for a reason. So just go along with it.
Have you ever been tossed?
I have not been tossed. I've got teed up 4 or 5 times, but I've never been tossed.
All right, for what?
My mouth. I'm just smart ass,
so. Is there something you remember saying to the umpire or to the official?
He said something. He's like, "That's what I saw," and I said a few choice words, and I said, what you saw was blah and blah and blah. We can just fill in the blanks from there. But no,
Did you say it loud enough that he heard it on purpose, or did you try to mutter it?
Oh,
he was standing
right next to me. He was standing right next to me. He's standing right next to me. He was trying to, chest me up. Don't try to chest me up. Don't chest me up because I'll get tossed before you chest me up. Like, don't challenge me.
Is on the other side of this, on the flip side of this coin, is there a line that the official can cross that it upsets the coaches and the players? Yes? No? Quinn's still
Well,
waiting
there
to get
is
this
like as
question.
an ump, I said something to a coach one time I was umpiring.
I got it. Calm down.
I pulled a kid out of the way. They were down 10. It was, you don't want no contact at the plate. So I pulled the kid out of the way. We were doing young age. I grabbed him. I made the mistake. I said, it doesn't really matter at this point, does it? So the coach had every right to come on my neck. Every right. But still, don't come on my neck. You know what I mean? Like, there is times where you do cross that line.
I get you.
So.
Quinn, what about you? Have you ever been teed up or booted from a game from a player or coach standpoint? And if so, what did you say?
Yeah, I've been teed up plenty of times in AAU. Only once at Lisbon, so I'm not really worried about the high school side of it. In AAU, yeah, I get teed up a lot. I also have a little bit of a mouth on me in AAU, but that's a different off-topic conversation. I guess.
They let a lot go in AAU, though. I mean, I see videos of everyone fighting the refs.
They fight the refs?
You ever been part of that?
There's a lot. Oh yeah,
You ever been part of that?
there's a lot of fighting going on. No, I've never been a part of it.
Yeah, I don't think
I've wanted to. I've really wanted to, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to.
Have you ever seen someone in
lot.
any sport that you've been coaching? Have you ever seen somebody, even from an oppositional standpoint, get tossed for something or teed up for something that was misrepresented or miscommunicated? Have you guys ever seen that?
Yes, I actually have a story. I was yelling trap, trap, trap. And, defensively in basketball, you can't get a timeout. So they had the ball. I'm yelling trap, 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 trap. I was awarded a timeout. Didn't want it, but I got it. Their coach was going ballistic, and he ended up getting teed up. I just walked away. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I didn't want it, but okay, I guess. So I didn't want to admit that the ref was wrong, and I didn't want to admit that, I was abusing it. But, yeah, I mean, I've been on both sides. Like, he definitely should not have gave me a timeout, and he did. So the other coach was definitely warranted in what he was doing, yelling.
Richie, what about you? You played a lot of baseball in your day. Have you ever seen somebody get ejected for something maybe they shouldn't have?
Not really, actually. I don't have any good stories like the man below me, but I mean, everything. I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen a lot of ejections in the first place, just because the coaches I played under were usually pretty calm and cool, and learn how to handle situations like that. But yeah, I mean, I haven't had too many ejections myself, but yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple that were like, okay, maybe the umpire should have talked to him before ejecting him, but I haven't had anything crazy.
Michael, you saw one last night, a little bit of a miscomm and miscommunication, and the coach actually, the way it was described to us, the coach actually was talking to his player, said it was a terrible slide, and the umpire thought he was talking to him, just heard that it's terrible, and he got his walking papers. So something like that. I mean, have you ever seen that happen before? And the bigger question is, has Dad ever got a flag on the sideline from getting a little out of hand? Oh no, he lost his mic.
How'd you get out of here?
Here we go. Never mind. I got it. But yeah, so I've got a couple. They're not great stories, but when my dad when he gets angry, it's for good reason. There was this one game I remember a couple of years ago. Beaver Locals playing Bel Air, second drive of the game. It's Beaver Locals first. Our QB takes it 93 yards to the house, and they call it back for an inadvertent whistle, and he is going insane on the sideline. He threw his visor down. He nearly threw his play sheet. He nearly took his play sheet off his neck, and I think the ref gave him a warning, and he calmed down for the rest of the game. But there's another one. It was last year, mid-game. They make a terrible foul. The refs make a terrible foul call. This one kid who is arguing on the behalf of the player who got called for the foul, they teed him up. They went to give a technical, but they gave it to the wrong kid.
Oh.
So I think 00 was the one arguing, and they gave the tech to 24.
Huh.
So that was interesting.
I haven't seen too much in my day. I've never got tossed as a coach or as a player. I've been close, but being the negotiator that I am, I always tried to work the officials from the catcher's position and try to get them on our side. One of those things where a catcher is supposed to be a salesman for the pitcher. You're framing the plate on either side, and you're trying to help your pitcher as much as you can. But you have to establish the catcher-umpire relationship that basically says, listen, I'm going to protect you for the rest of this game. I'm going to make sure that you don't get hit, but I expect you to treat me right whenever I'm in the box, and also whenever I try to frame something up and help my pitcher. You got to help me look good too. So that was always the established connection and relationship with me as a catcher and an umpire. So I never got tossed. I always had like I do now a lot. I always try to make my point, and then when I know I'm going to lose, I kind of back down a little bit. I shove it down and choke it down. But there's a lot of times where umpires, they'll let you have a little bit more leash if they know who you are and know that you mean well and you're not trying to show them up. So interestingly enough, last night was not one of those situations. I've never met the coach that was coaching third base, but he came up and he was an absolute gentleman about it and was just asking questions about what happened. From where we were sitting, nothing that he did was wrong. He didn't make a big deal out of it. He walked right off the field. He didn't show up the umpire. And I imagine he probably – but in Scene Park, especially this year, there's a lot of repercussions if you get tossed. I mean, you're missing half the year. So I'll be interested to see if they look at this from our standpoint. I mean, I'm sure they're going to buy this video or ask us for the video and say, what happened? And Michael did a great job of making sure it was right down the middle and calling it exactly as it happened. So, and even some of the coaches, you see Mark Roth there in the comments saying that the umpire maybe had a hair trigger last night and threw the coach out before any discussion was happened. So, even on the other side of the field, the coaches are saying, no, I'm not sure that was the right call. And let's be honest, umpires can have bad days too. You know what I mean? They're not always
exactly.
They're not always cheery, and we should not expect them to be on because that's not the job that probably pays the bills. That's the job that probably gets them
they're coming from their job.
Yeah, they're getting a daddy pop at the end of the night for that, and they're doing it as a service to the community or to the league. So I don't want to be all over umpires or officials because we love them, and without them we can't play or do our jobs. But given this certain situation, I just wanted to bring it up and see if there was any times that you got the hair trigger on you, or if you guys have ever been close to getting tossed and kind of plummeted back into the bench. I know we've got a couple of firecrackers down on the bottom row there. So interestingly enough, and Michael, I know your dad is only gets mad whenever it's well warranted. So I'll make sure that I'll make sure we talk about that to him coming up. We're gonna take another.
He has his fair shares of outbursts.
Oh, I'm sure. Your dad bleeds passion wherever he is. He bleeds it. So I believe that he's probably had his share of run-ins with the law, so to speak, on the field. We're going to take one more break. We're going to come back and wrap up the show. A couple more things to talk about, including no swapping jerseys anymore in the NFL. So those, I've got an interesting point that I want to make that will be, I want to get your guys' take on it. So we'll take a break right here on the YSN Power Hour. Be back after this.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at bairdbrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
And welcome back to the YSN Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you, Mike McKenzie, Tristan Reynolds, Richie Giuliano, and Quinn still running from the the people of Indianapolis. So interestingly enough, I mean, I think Quinn just got bad Wi-Fi. I think that's what it boils down to. Guys, when you look at this, no jersey swaps in the NFL this year. It was something we saw for the past, 3 to 5 years, people taking off their uniform after the game. It was a great shot for CBS. It was a great shot for whoever was doing the production, NBC, AB, whoever, right? And you see the guys with their uniforms, switching them off. Lamar Jackson got a lot last year. Pat Mahomes obviously would probably get a lot this year. Tom Brady. You're not going to see that this year. The NFL says no more of that because we don't want teams passing from one to the other. Do you like this rule? Yes or no? Do you even care?
I don't know why it matters. I mean,
I don't care.
If they're playing football already, what's it matter after the game? I mean, what does it really matter? You're already within an inch from each other, so
that is a great point, Richie.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. If you could please put up the Michael Page comment from about 328, describes it perfectly.
Michael, I don't know where the hell that is.
I can see it right now.
I'm glad. What does it say?
It says, we'll let you tackle each other and get sweat and blood and who knows what else on each other, but absolutely no jersey swapping after the game.
There we go. Okay. We had this discussion before we went on the air. We had the discussion about Michael not trying to take over the conversation, and there it was. It took him 56 minutes, but there it is. He was waiting to pounce.
I had restraint compared to last night.
You did. So, I mean, what do you think? I mean, is this something that's absolutely ridiculous, or do you not care enough to even argue it?
I think I don't care about jersey swapping in general. I just think that if you're gonna make this rule, and then you've got players going at it, tackling each other for over 2 hours, probably over 3 hours, it makes no sense to eliminate jersey swapping when you're already essentially touching a lot of people's jerseys. I think that even if it limits the spread of COVID just a little bit, it's probably only by like 0.001% because you're playing 3 hours, 2 inches apart from each other at the most.
Quinn, what's your take?
Let's be real. People are still going to swap jerseys. They're just not going to do it in front of the camera.
Yeah, they're just going to do it behind closed doors.
Exactly.
Or you just mail it to them, sign it and mail it or something. I mean, there's so many ways you get around it. It doesn't really matter, honestly. Like this has no impact on my life.
Let's head out to Quindianapolis.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me either. I mean, it's going to happen regardless. It doesn't matter how, when, where. It's going to happen. I mean, they're grown men. They don't really care about swapping a jersey.
Oh, they care. I think they do care. I think they really do. I think this is going to be a source of butthurt, if you will, for the NFL players
because they want it for social media.
That's what they wanted. That's all they want is they want it on their Instagram or they want it on their TikTok or whatever the hell they're doing now. That's what they want it for. Here's my question for the NFL: these NFL charity auctions that they do, and they do the jersey sales. So if the players aren't allowed to swap jerseys, we should not be allowed to buy them. Correct?
That's a good point. Makes it even worse if we would get it, honestly, because we're not even close to these players. And then you get a random guy's jersey. Next thing you know, you could get sick, your family, So, no, I don't think they should be selling these jerseys out to the public at all. Doesn't matter how much the jersey's worth.
Well, my thing is at the end of the day, this is for NFL charities. And if the NFL stands to lose any money on this, I think there is going to be major issues, right? They don't care that they're swapping. And Michael Page has a great, the amount of money for a year's worth of jersey swaps is pretty pricey. Okay. But if you're going to sit there and promote, and this is the NFL promoting that they can pay one player, one guy, $503 million, then they should not be worried about jerseys that essentially are coming from overseas and are sewed up in their locker rooms. Like, you should not be worried about, because they don't cost $300. I can tell you that right now. That's what they charge fans to utilize to buy the jerseys. That's the cost of doing business. So my question for them is, they're either going to have to ease up on this jersey swapping rule, or they're going to have to do away with selling all these things like cleats, jerseys, player-worn gloves, all this stuff, and that will hit them in the bank account. So what do you think breaks first, the swapping or the charity auctions?
I think the charity auctions will break first, honestly, because I mean, like I just mentioned earlier, you can't be dishing out a player's jersey to some random guy for money, and enhancing the spread of COVID-19 at that point.
Can you imagine?
Does the NFL get in trouble at that point?
They would have to. The sale is through the NFL, so it would be interesting to see if someone sold a cleat or a game-worn whatever.
Yeah.
And someone ends up with COVID from it. What do you do at that point? I mean, the NFL could be sued for millions and millions of dollars, and heaven forbid that person, contracts it and dies.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think the charity auctions go first, because the player-to-player interaction, like we mentioned before, they're already having contact during the game. So that's already been established. But a player-to-fan is completely different because they're nowhere near the player. So if somebody would contract it from a jersey, cleat, wristband, whatever they sell, then they could be in some serious trouble.
Very interesting. And we move on to our final topic of the day. G. Burbick Farms, what's your beef? I'll start if nobody has any opposition to that. My beef is the decisions have to start being made at this point. We've got to know one way or the other. If you're going to make a mistake, err on the side of caution. However, we've got to know. Like, we can't do that. We can't do the song and dance for 7 more weeks and then you tell us we're not playing. That is unfair to the kids. It's unfair to the schools. It's unfair to the coaches. It's unfair to the fans. It's unfair to everybody. So if the OHSAA, the governor, whoever makes this decision, let's make the decision, right? And if you want to err on the side of caution, that's fine. But then that allows schools, athletic directors, coaches, players to all start getting ideas to replace the sport or do something else, right? Or start their own protests in that sense. So that's my beef. Brought to you by G. Burbick Farms. Let's go to Michael.
I'm just gonna try to piggyback off of what you said because I believe the same thing. July 15th has been a date that's been sort of floating around. I want to know by July 15th, are we going to do what the Ivy League did? We're not playing sports till January 1st. Are we going to swap fall and spring sports, and we're going to be playing baseball and softball in the fall because they got to get practices going ASAP if that's the case? Are we going to be playing track and field in fall because we got to get practices going there? You got to get tryouts and everything. We got to know what's getting played where, when, what's getting played in the fall, if anything's getting played in the fall. And, we need to know if we're starting baseball practices and softball practices and track and field practices back up, or we're just going to keep going with these off-season basketball workouts and football stuff if we're going to keep playing football in July. Because the Big Ten, they've realized this deadline. They're going conference only. The Ivy League realized that deadline. Now everybody else needs to realize this upcoming deadline midway through July.
Richie Giuliano, what's up?
I think my beef would be the scenario you just described about the ballistic third base coach getting thrown out. I think that there should always be an interaction between the umpire and the coach before he or she gets tossed out. And without the umpire coming over and saying something to the coach and just immediately giving him the finger out of here, I think is a little ridiculous, and I think that would be my beef.
Quinn, your beef all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana, the first ever out-of-state G. Burbick Farms. What's your beef?
I've got a lot of them. I'll kind of narrow it down. First one's technology. I don't have a damn clue what I'm doing with this stuff, and it is awful for me. I don't know what's going on. I'm so lost with what we're going on with right here. Second beef, probably the streaming cast for the games. It's terrible. YSN should be doing it, so there's that. Third beef, it's too damn hot, and I'm outside. And fourth beef, I I miss East Palestine. I miss those stupid trains. I want to come home, but I got basketball, so I'm happy.
That is the most beef that you've ever had on this show. You've made up for weeks of no beef. Incredible. Well done, my friend. Well done. Safe travels. We'll make sure that we get you on this show. And finally, T, what do you think?
I don't have beef. I just have a bet on the table for Q because I think we play each other. If I beat Q,
Tristan, I'm coming for you.
if I beat Q, Q's got to go run 5 miles. If Q beats me, I'll drink a 12-pack of Mountain Dew in one day.
All right, so 5 miles versus a 12-pack of Mountain Dew.
Can we do that 5 miles in Indy where there's scooters?
Can we get to that real quick before we go off the air? Is Quinn, talk about this scooter thing you talked to us about before we hopped on.
Yeah, so there's scooters here that you like rent. They're Bird scooters,
like
Old
Columbus.
scooters, Lime scooters. I don't know, different companies. Yeah, so basically it's like $1 to unlock it, and then it counts your minutes rode for 15 cents a minute, and it goes about 25 miles an hour, and
I can't hear shiz.
basically replaces walking.
And how many dollars have you wasted on this scooter so far?
I'm pretty close to $60 right now.
Jeez.
So for anybody that doesn't know Quinn Pushkar, he is, we love him. We love him with all our heart. We bust his balls as much as we can, but he is ultimately the laziest skinny kid we've ever met, ever. So to rack up a $60 bill on a scooter in downtown Indianapolis is a feat, man. So congratulations. We're all proud of you for
It's better this year than last year.
And it's not over yet. So make sure
Last
that
year was brutal.
you make the best of make the best of those scooter rentals, and we'll be back here in East Palestine waiting for you. For Tristan, who disappeared, for Richie, for Quinn, for Mike, and for myself, that's going to wrap up the Thursday edition of the YSN Power Hour. Join us tomorrow, 3 to 4, once again, as we wrap up the week here on the network. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.